We're coming from you in Malibu with Big Mike, who is the creator of Advanced Nutrients, which is an amazing company for people who are in the growing business. They do fertilizer for marijuana, and they sell over $60 million a year worth of fertilizer.
That's right. We're in 93 countries around the world. We're the #1 marijuana fertilizer brand in the world right now.
The cool thing about what you're doing, though, is not just that you have this amazing company.
Oh, yeah.
Is that you also have it involved with things like getting knighted by the Queen for a political party that you created in Bulgaria. That's pretty crazy, too.
It wasn't the Queen, actually goes to the Pope, actually. The knighthood goes back to the Pope, Knightus St. Michael. Yeah. There's only, I guess, 2 that are supposedly recognized by NATO. That's I think it's the Knights of Malta and the Knights of St. Michael.
And at the same time, were the creative producer of Weeds?
No, I was the technical advisor.
Technical advisor
for Weeds, Pineapple Express, a whole bunch of Leaves of Green. There's a lot of movies that we've done and helped out on. Yeah.
And now at the same time, you're investing in an amazing documentary that's coming out in September in Bulgaria as well.
Oh yeah, it's called Ghost Nation. It's not just going to come out in Bulgaria. It's going to go out all over the world. It's about what's happening in Bulgaria and why the world should care, because Bulgaria is a demarcation line. Most people don't realize that Bulgaria borders Turkey. And of course, we just had that Istanbul just got attacked. You know, that's an airport that I've gone through quite a bit because I used to live in Bulgaria a lot. And the demarcation line between Christianity and Islam, between capitalism and communism, is the border of Bulgaria and Turkey. What people don't realize is that Bulgaria is an EU member and member of NATO. And one high-level ranking Russian official said, "Oh, we love Bulgaria. It's our Trojan horse into the EU." And that's exactly what it is. And you go, okay, so what we proved is that ISIS is being paid off at the highest level in the government of Bulgaria. And also that they do a lot of business with Putin as well. We found ISIS training camps in Bulgaria. There's a tax scam involved with the highest level officials from the highest parties that are actually giving that money to ISIS so they can smuggle their cigarettes into the Middle East. And so there's this whole quagmire of stuff that's going on, and people, the West and Europe, need to realize that that's the gateway to hell, to a lot of our problems. Like I said, we found ISIS training camps in Bulgaria. They constantly use that to go through it. And you go, well, why would, Putin's fighting ISIS as well? Except that he knows that by allowing the Muslims to come in and dealing a lot with Russia destabilizes the EU. So it is Putin's Trojan horse into the EU and into the West, and he allows ISIS members to come through there, along with the dirty dealings of Russia and how they pay the highest level officials in the government money. They're paying money. Well, listen, you said you're with the East. You said that you want to be a member of NATO. Then you better embrace capitalism, and you better embrace the way that we do business, not the way that Russia does business. I mean, you made that clear, but yet they're burning the candle at both ends of the wick, and we're losing because of that. And so America needs to wake up, EU needs to wake up, and they need to pay attention to what's going on. Because if they don't, if I would have said, listen, you need to pay, 30 years ago, you need to pay attention to Afghanistan, you look at me like, where the hell is it, and why should I care? That's exactly what's going to happen with Bulgaria if the world doesn't wake up. It's gonna be the ignition point of hell. That's the only way to describe it, and it is.
Well, bringing attention to these issues is extremely important.
Well, yeah. Like one of the things people say, why are you doing it? Well, one, I have a home in Bulgaria. I live there. I was pissed off at what I saw the government stealing money. Their big thing, how they make money, is getting EU loans and grants, and then skimming off the top of those. So then you get inferior projects being built because they took so much money off the top to begin with, and so the roads don't get built right, and buildings don't get built right. It's a shame, and so I got really, really mad and angry at that, and so I said I'm going to try to do something about it, and so did the documentary, started a political organization, had the biggest online political organization in the country, bigger than any of the political powers that are there. It would be the same thing as having 15 million followers here in the U.S. because Bulgaria is a little country, 7.2 million. We have almost 300,000 followers of that, and that's pretty cool. And so we started a movement called Political Change Now, and then from that we started a political party. We put a guy in he's now mayor of a little town called Olympian, but he's a bad guy. He went sideways on us. So now we're looking to start another political party. Had to disavow myself from that political party and start hopefully a new one and get the right people in government there.
In order to build all these amazing things, it requires political capital, social capital,
yeah, it does.
And connections. But your networking skills is something that people would love to learn. Now, you talk a lot, read a lot about power, influence, persuasion,
yes, I do.
networking, relationships.
Sure, absolutely.
What are some of your secrets?
You know, the biggest secret, and this is what people really have a problem doing, is just being yourself, telling the truth. Jesus Christ, it's amazing. You know, I was very guarded at a time of what I said, and I found as I became less guarded and more open and just tell people the truth. And if I don't know something, I don't tell people, I don't know, could you explain it to me? A lot of people in a conversation always want to act like they know, and when you act like you know, you don't learn anything, not at all. And what I found about people is they really want to help. Most people want to help other human beings. So when you say, I don't know, I need your help, it's amazing what doors open up. And the biggest thing is just being really just brutally honest and have really honest and open conversations with people. And when you do that, I mean, don't be stupid and give away trade secrets, but just when you have an open conversation with people and just be yourself, truly be yourself, it's magic. It's probably the single biggest persuasion, influence thing that I've ever done, and I did it by accident. I just one day just got, you know what, I just got sick of just all the pretense and bullshit. I don't care, I'm just going to be myself and just see how it all goes. And it was like magic. It was like magic. I'm not saying being a rude asshole or something like that, but just be open with people and honest and let them know where you stand and where you're going and how you want to get there. And one of the questions that I always ask to people is, well, what question should I ask that I didn't at the very end? And it's amazing what happens and how people will step up and they want to help you.
Now, we do have a lot of genuine connections with people that way, and I noticed that even within the fact that you've moved recently to the Hollywood Hills and been networking within Beverly Hills, having amazing parties.
Well, you're a big influence on that.
Sure.
like the story is, like, you did some training with us, we hit it off, we became friends and got to know each other, and we moved into this mansion in Hollywood Hills, and now we got even a bigger, more badass mansion to go in, and it's a lot of fun. And we throw, Marijuana Mansion, we branded it through parties, and you guys are doing your thing there, and it's a really great environment because I like it. People look at me and go like, what the hell are you doing? I go, oh no, the coolest people in the world come through our house, our mansion. It's amazing the people that come through there and talk to us. It's so cool, and I learn a lot. I learn a lot from everybody. I don't care who they are. Young kids that are 24, 23, these guys are making like $7 million a year, $10 million a year. These young kids coming in here, I sit them down and go, tell me, like, what are you doing and how are you doing it? Teach me what you know. And then of course they got a lot of questions for me. It's like, how do I build a $65 million a year, company? And so I start telling about things that most people don't want to talk about.
And the thing is, even within the most powerful and elite people within my soul circle that I built, even from a decade ago, have been approaching me and saying, yeah, I've heard about this Marijuana Mansion party. That's amazing because it's only been like, what, a year or two? Yeah, a year.
Yeah, we've done really well in a year. But I've had, it's a big brain trust, actually. The Marijuana Mansion and with everybody, with Owen and you and everybody else coming through there, it's like this super high energy, positive emotion, transformational environment, and I love it. I don't get enough of it because I'll tell you, when you listen to what I call like civilians, like once you know how things work behind the curtain, well, yeah, because most people wouldn't be able to handle a conversation that you and I have sometimes, or me and you and Owen, or people in the house, because when you pull back the curtain and you see how things really are versus what people think it is, it's a lot different deal. And so we can talk openly about these things, and it works out really well. And we can bounce a lot of ideas off each other.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing how we have such controversial industries or controversial interactions in the world.
Oh yeah.
We can share those with other people. Do black people late.
Absolutely. You guys are in pickup, and I'm in the marijuana cannabis business, and both are controversial at this time.
Yeah. What was your goal? why did you create these mansion parties? Like, was it to build an elite soul circle and kind of like expand the horizon, or just
here's the deal. So for cannabis industry, I realized I was sitting there in Bulgaria. I lived there 9-10 months out of the year, and I saw what was happening specifically in California in regards to marijuana, and the people and the research that and the knowledge of everything for marijuana. The best people in the world are actually here. I mean, some people will argue and say it's like countries like Israel and this. I'm telling you, the guys I know are way ahead of these other countries who are just now getting started in cannabis. So Israel has been doing it for a while. The guy who invented, who discovered the cannabis molecule, in fact, was Bulgarian and now lives in Israel. And so California, the people in California are way ahead of everyone else in the world. So, okay, so now here you got marijuana. Where's the best media in the world? To me, it's Hollywood. So, because they're the best storytellers. And if you don't know how to tell a story in the right format, it's going to make it harder for people to understand your messaging. So, Hollywood, in particular, is the epicenter for me of media and marijuana. And so I realized that's where I had to be. Why did I get a big mansion and do all that? Because I wanted to have parties. I wanted to start putting together a huge circle of influence. I realized some of the people that I should know, I didn't know, and the fastest way to do that is to have a great event. And so every year I have, usually like this 4th of July, I've got a 4th of July Malibu, we're here in Malibu, a Malibu mansion party on the beach kind of thing. And then in August at the new mansion that we have, August 13th is going to be the next mansion party.
So at the same time, you have a place in Malibu. Is that because you just like a place to kind of separate yourself from all the craziness and relax?
Oh. So I do Malibu because when I'm by the water, usually when I go to Malibu, I go to Malibu about 4 or 5 times a year. And usually it's after a heavy big circle of events and traveling around the world, and you just get wore out. And I come here and I just want to be left alone. And it's like a big tranquilizer for me just to come here. There's something about listening to the ocean. And I've got recordings and stuff in my home, makes the white, and it's not the same as the real thing. And I can just sit, I can smoke weed, stare at the waves, and then I like to smoke weed in the evening to put me to sleep, but also it gives me a different perspective on my day. And I can't tell you, I made tens of millions of dollars by medicating and then thinking about what I did during the day. It just opens up this other avenue and perspective that most people never get. And I gotta say, part of being who I am and not afraid to be who I am, I realized when I was smoking cannabis. When I would smoke cannabis, it kind of makes you more empathetic and opens you up, at least it does for me. And I found that people responded really, really well to that. And so I just carried that over into my normal everyday conversation that I'm having with you.
And I mean,
like this conversation is no different than what we have at the mansion. You know, you just like sit and chill and we're talking. It's just interesting talking like to you and Owen and Madison and Todd and the whole Luke, the whole crew. They have different perspectives on everything, and it's just fascinating to me. I learn as much from them as they learn from me, and so that's a perfect environment to be in. So that's why I did the mansion. I did the mansion because I was kind of curious. I had this idea. What I found out is it morphed into this thing that was really cool, way beyond my expectations. And that's a lot to do with you guys too, because who you are and you've been in the Hollywood scene for so long, you know everybody and things. So you guys actually kind of helped shortcut me. So that was cool.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool. I mean,
and I hope I can shortcut you in other ways. Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been having a great time doing it all with you as well.
Yeah.
But and you kind of also remind me of Owen, because you always have so many interesting things to say. It's like you just...
Owen's crazy to talk to. That dude is so smart. You just talk to him and he's got perspectives on so many different things, right? I love talking to him. He's a little quirky, but I like it. And, eccentric behavior he has, but it doesn't bother me. It's cool. Huh?
Like Howard Hughes. You have interesting creative and entrepreneurial ideas.
Yeah.
At the same time, I love how you like always think outside the box, like your
You
policies,
have.
your business innovation,
Here's what I found
creativity.
out. When you want to influence and persuade people, it's the opposite of what you think you should do and what everybody else is doing. And that's one of the things that Owen taught me when I first came into the mansion. I asked him, I go, hey, you know, I fly around on jets and all this kind of stuff, and do you think I should like show my lifestyle? And he goes, dude, he goes, absolutely. And this is what he said. He goes, you want, and I knew this, but I wasn't doing it hard enough. You want to differentiate, but more than that, polarize. You do not ever want to be mediocre. If you're mediocre, no one remembers you. They either love you or hate you. And if you think back, all the things, your best memories, your worst memories were all anchored to an emotional event. The stronger the emotional event, the harder the memory is etched into your brain. So when you polarize hard, they love you, that's a strong emotion, or they hate you, that's a strong emotion. But they are feeling, and this is what I learned from Owen. He goes, when you polarize hard, people feel an emotion. And if they don't feel that emotion, they're not going to remember you. The last thing you want to be is someone is indifferent to you. That's the worst thing, is being indifferent. That's like death. And so speak your mind, and yeah, you're going to piss people off. Who cares? You cannot make everybody happy. If you try to do that, you're shooting for mediocrity, and no one's going to remember you. You can't. Say what's on your mind. Some of it's going to be controversial. Some people are going to have, some very strong opinions, and that's what you want. You want to start that dialogue. You want people talking.
Owen says I definitely have a lot of extreme views, and I've heard that indifference phrase even from my family growing up. Yeah. They said that you don't want people to be indifferent to you. But as a result, I always tried to engineer a lifestyle that was kind of creative and was something not boring. Sure. You know, I think that you've done a good job of that, but I think that we also are in a situation where we kind of can't help now, because we've just gone so deep into what we're in our lives, we can't help but creating a life that's kind of crazy. So I feel like I'm kind of
it's just fun.
Look, it's fun. It's exciting.
The journey's
it's so much excitement.
Look, I love getting to the goal. And I'll say one of my problems as an entrepreneur that I realized is, an entrepreneur, we're usually so goal-driven. When we get to the goal, we automatically reset to the next higher goal, rather than saying, hey, look what I've accomplished. Look how wonderful and cool this is, and I'm going to do something really special for myself, or take a vacation, or buy me this, or something for yourself. Reward yourself. The number one, it's a big problem with entrepreneurs. I'm in a lot of mastermind groups, and we talk about that in particular, is slowing down once you've hit your goal, and just kind of enjoying it for what it is, because most people, let's just face it, most people never accomplish what we've accomplished in our lives. And it's not because we're any smarter or better, it's because we've studied our asses off, and we applied it. People say that knowledge is power, and I say bullshit to that. Applied knowledge is power. You can think about it. You can't learn to ride a bike going to a seminar. You actually have to do it. And so that's the thing, is just get out there and doing it.
Speed of execution is king. Field experience is king. Yeah. Those reference experiences, whether you win or lose, are always going to be better.
One of the things that one of my COOs is Special Forces. He was a Canadian version of the Navy SEAL Team 6, who's a commando. And I said, what are the things, like when you're in a fight? You know what he said? Speed and violence. And what I would say in business is not so much violence in business, but speed and chaos. Creating a little chaos in the office is good. It keeps people awake. It keeps them going. And I was taught that many years ago by one of my mentors, and I do that. When things are starting to kind of slow down in the office, I'll go in there and I'll rattle the cage and wake people up and remember what their objectives are, what the goals are, what the outcomes are. And that's the thing. When you speak, you always want to talk about outcomes. The great leaders will give a very clear picture of the outcome. Now, they do that in the military. They call it actually like a prime directive. Take hill number 784. You must take that hill. They have a plan. The plan most of the time goes haywire, but they know the objective. Take the hill. That's it. And so you have a prime objective, and that's the picture of your outcome. And the more clear that you can draw that picture of the outcome, the better you are. And if you have A players, really true A players, get the fuck out of their way and let them go there. It may not be the way that you wanted to get there, because there's many roads to Rome, as the saying goes, but they get there. That's what matters.
How transparent are you in terms of all your numbers and everything with your team?
Extremely, extremely. Now, sometimes I might be in the middle of a negotiation or something where I can't tell them just because it'll be detrimental to the negotiation, and I'll usually tell them that. I go, look, I'm in the middle of a negotiation. There's some things I can't talk about right now. Later on, when we can, we're going to talk about it. And if the thing is sealed in court or whatever, you can never talk about it. But I'm very, very transparent. The more transparent you are to a point, and the point is where you're getting into a legal issues that you can't discuss or you shouldn't be discussing with them because something's going on at that time. But other than that, yeah, total transparency. I've never hid things and stuff from any of my team members. There's no, I compartmentalize. Like, you do this, you do this, you do this, because I don't have time exactly to explain it, but I explain what the outcome is so that they see that.
Well, I've also met your leaders, the compartmental leaders, like
one of the quick way to tell if you got like an A player or a B player, you give them an outcome, and if they come back and they ask you a whole bunch of questions, they got a whole line of questions, it's like, you're asking me to do your job for you. And I call them on that. I go, really? I said, did I give you a clear outcome? Yeah, you know what you're supposed to do? You got to get there, right? That's the outcome. You get there. You do it your way. But stop asking me questions. I go, you got a whole team of people there. Ask your team questions. And that's usually the first indoctrination that people get. Go to the team and use the team, but don't bug me about that. My time is extremely valuable. When I'm doing company business, it's got to be over $20,000 an hour I'm making. It's like, leave me the F alone with anything that's under $20,000 an hour. I don't even want to fucking hear it. Don't come to me with it. You've already been told what your outcome is. Go. So here it is. You get a guy or a girl, and you give them a task to do, and they ask you a bunch of questions. No. I mean, sometimes they have to ask the question because there might be some very technical stuff that they need to know. But I've got a team of scientists they can go and ask those same questions to.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just know they're going to get a faster, quicker answer with me, and they kind of use it. They start using you as a crutch, and you got to break them of that habit right away. But yeah, don't let them. If they ask you a lot more questions, you're going to get the right guy.
Going back to the past, though, like you have these excellent guys, like your COO, for example.
Yep, and a woman and a guy. Yeah, both COOs. One's Europe and one's.
So you have Kevin, plus you have someone else.
Yeah, Jody Boots. Yeah, okay. She's my COO for North America, and Kevin's my COO for Europe.
Did you train these guys to kind of build and expand that vision, since you're not directly talking to the people underneath them? Did you are you just continually pumping the inspiration?
I used to go to past and micromanage and stick my nose in people, and you don't want to do that. You want them to develop their own skills and their own patterns. And so, yeah, I really, when you get A players, you don't need to teach them much. You need to teach them about your space and your culture, your community, and after that, you just kind of leave them alone. Tell them what they have to do and what the picture looks like, and let them go at it and get it done.
And then where's the checks and balances coming from?
In the beginning, I watch them closely. In the beginning, like if it's going to be marketing and R&D, I watch what they're doing very closely in the beginning, because they're going to need some guidance, because if they're not from our community, they're not from the cannabis sector, they're from mainstream, their headspace isn't going to be really connected. And one of the things that I make them do is also go out to the marketplace. 3-4 times a year for 3 or 4 days, they have to go into a store and they have to communicate with the store owners and the growers. Because the biggest thing that people do in management, they think they know all this shit, and they sit back in their ivory tower, and it happens even in my company, and that's why I made them get out. They have to go into the front line. If you have a CEO and you have leaders that are not going into the front line and into the trenches and learning what the hell's going on, fire them. Get rid of them, because that is where you find out where all the problems are and the shit. It's really easy to sweep stuff under the rug. It's really a lot harder to deal with all the issues. The biggest strides, dollar-wise, that I've made in my company has been going in the trenches and listening to the growers and the store owners, and then fixing what we're doing wrong that they would like to see us do better. It is huge. In fact, when you start getting to a certain size in your company, you can make so much money just by going in and cleaning up inefficiencies in the business and finding out where people are hitting roadblocks. Dealing with with any company should be frictionless. It should be like a greased chute. There should be no friction, none. Whenever I see friction, I get pissed off and I go, get rid of that friction. And a lot of times management wants to build friction in because they're so worried about protecting themselves. Well, the cost of protecting yourself is far greater in losses of revenue than the little thing that you're trying to protect. And so I always try to get them to think a little bit differently and look at things differently.
Well, it sounds like
and do things. It takes a bit, but once you get them focused and you get that A player and you educate them a little bit, boom, just get the hell out of their way. Let them loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of you as like Owen, kind of breaking down that strategy, consistently pumping it. Like whenever I talk to Owen, the reason why he's talking for so long is because his vision is so clear. And he communicates that and inspires people, and then they kind of take things to the next level.
Oh, yeah.
And so much of,
just like pickup. Business is the same way. Pickup is counterintuitive to what you think that you have to do to a girl to get her. And so is business. Their business is a lot of shades of gray. And most CEOs will never, ever talk to you about that. They get on these TV shows on Bloomberg and all, and they talk corporate bullshit doublespeak. And people realize when they're doing, people want to know why Donald Trump is so successful, is because he is saying the things that are on people's minds that they're afraid themselves to say. They're thinking it, so it's top of mind. He's connecting with people in a very subconscious and conscious level. The things that Trump does. Hillary, when you listen to her speak, she seems disingenuous. It's bullshit. You know it's political speak. And people don't trust that. What people trust is people being themselves, and that's why he's doing extremely well. That's why he beat all those other Republicans out, because people find it refreshing to deal with someone who just tells it like it is.
There's a book that Owen used to talk about called Radical Honesty, where people will go to that extreme so far. I've always liked the idea of being very direct, but the thing is I have a lot of extreme views. Sure. And I remember there was a seminar we went to in February called Crucial Conversations, where people could measure your openness, and it's very good to be open. At the same time, though, a lot of things you could say are just what they would consider violent. So I guess my violent level was also from openness here extreme, but in violence just as extreme, because a lot of the things I'm not even considering and empathizing with the calibration what I say a lot in business. At the same time, I'm also learning that process of trying to say what's on your mind, but then trying to figure out a way to communicate that a little bit more gently. At the same time, I just kind of just don't like it, but I'm learning how to do that process when those high emotions are running wild, just to make sure things are calm. Yeah. I think though it depends on that energy. For example, when I'm talking to you, you always have this like positive energy where it's always like really happy and charming. And I know Owen's like, man, I don't know what's going on exactly with Mike's mind, but I know that he's so happy. It makes me wonder what's going on. Happy.
Look, I have bad days too. We all have bad days, and I can be a gnarly tiger. If you speak to my girlfriend, she'll go like, some days it ain't going right. That happens. That happens to everyone. But look, there's a saying, positive things happen to positive people, right? And you gotta look. Remember The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale? He had a little 30-minute tape I listened to a long time ago. And the strangest secret is what a man thinketh he become. That's it. What you think is what you become. So if you want to have negative, shitty outlook on the world, well, you're gonna be a miserable fuck, because it's actually programming your mind. So by being positive and looking at the positive outcomes, look, you have to look at the downside and you have to look at liability in any deal. You have to. And by the way, if you want to know if a deal is serious, the people on the other side start talking about liability. That's how one of the key factors I know if a deal is real and I'm dealing with real people, because they're talking about the liability side of things.
Are you explaining the risks involved with what you're doing, or are you talking about just all the expenses?
No, the detail, like who's going to cover what. If this happens, who's going to cover this? If this happens, what's going to happen here? If this goes under, who's going to be responsible for what debt, what portion of the debt, what are we going to do, how we're going to handle it? When a deal is real, people talk about the downside. So yeah, you have to deal with that. But you can also, being a positive makes a difference. You think differently, you see differently. you're going to live longer for sure. I mean, look, the world is a complicated place. I say it's always been complicated. We just didn't know about it because we didn't have the internet, where this global community now that's being built and everyone's talking to each other. And so a lot of the things that were probably in the past that we never heard about, we hear about, and it gives the feeling that there's a lot of shitty things happening in the world. Yet at the same time, this planet today is the most abundant things that we have. The average person in this country, in America, lives better than kings and queens did in the 1400s, 1500s, and 1600s. That's what people don't realize. The quality of life that we have compared to 100 years ago is so much better. You can go around and it's, you know what, it's really easy to be an armchair quarterback. Sit on your ass, throw stones at everybody. Yeah, motherfucker, get out there, let me see you do it. They can't. And so they just sit there and they bitch and they throw stones. If you want to look at the world from a really shitty, ugly place, then the ideas and movies that you have and pictures in your brain are going to be just that. Be positive, and good things happen to people who have good intentions and have positive outcomes. It just does. Look, it's not always going to go your way. Absolutely not. But you want to stack the deck in your favor. I call it the advantage of the slight edge. When you think about it, let's say you got, I don't know, LA, you got Kobe Bryant, and then you got the guy who's not even on the bench. He's the fifth player of the team. Well, Kobe's probably making about, I don't know, 80 million a year, and the guy down here who's also a starter, he is maybe making 10 million a year. So is Kobe 500% better than this player? No, he's not. He's 10 to 15% better. And that's all you have to be. You don't have to have this, you don't have to be 200, 300% better than your competition. You just need 10 or 15%. That's it. You have the advantage of the slight edge. That's it. That's one of my big secrets. I don't go for 200, 300%. I go for being just that much better than my competitors. And by the way, there was a company called General Hydroponics. They were number one in my niche when I started. I surpassed them. If you know anything about branding, how hard it is that once you create a ladder, and we all create ladders in our head. The more expensive the item is, the less rungs on the ladder. The more cheaper the item is, becomes a commodity, more choices you have on your ladder. But if I say high performance exotic car, you're going to think Ferrari, Lamborghini, right? Boom, boom. You got those. So once those are made in people's head, to dethrone the guy who owns the number one position, or girl, the company, is next to impossible. Next to frickin' impossible. And I'm so proud of this. I beat General Hydroponics. I surpassed and became the number one player in my niche. That's not easy to do. That takes a lot of studying, a lot of burning the midnight oil, and doing what you have to do. A lot of people in this life think that there's some kind of fucking easy button that you're gonna hit and you're gonna make some kind of shortcut. There's a whole nother conversation. If you were, what happens to most guys who win like lotteries and stuff? Their brain is not programmed for success, and all their friends will, when you become successful, your friends, family, everybody starts treating you differently. And if you're not prepared for that mentally, you're fucked. Business is mostly a mental game. 90% of what we do here in business is mental first. You need to get your head in the right place. Your head space is so important, probably more important than all the marketing and management tools that you need, is getting that head space right. And a lot of folks don't do that. Yeah. And so they fail because of that. There is a lot of responsibility that goes on being a business owner that people don't realize. They think it just, it comes easily or something for a person. No, it doesn't come easily. It's just when you're watching a football game, I'm studying. When you're going out at a party, I'm studying. That's the difference. There is no fucking easy button in life. If you become an entrepreneur and you become successful, it'll be some of the hardest work that you've ever done in your entire life. You'll work the longest hours, yet at the same time it'll be the most rewarding thing you've ever done. But it's not easy. It is not easy. And I know there's a lot of young millennial kids out here watching this thing right now going, I want the shortcut. I got news for you, pal. and it's not going to go that way. It will not work that way. You're going to have to get in, you're going to have to get in the trenches, and you're going to have to work your ass off for a lot of years and study and find better people than what you're hanging around with and move. Remember I talked about the guys who win the lottery? Well, what happens is they hang around with all their old friends with the old same thought patterns, and they all start treating them differently, and they don't like that, the person who has that. And so their subconscious brain works against them, is going to get them back to homeostasis as fast as possible. And that was the way that I was before. So they go and they piss away all their money unknowingly because subconsciously they want to get back to being their friends' friends. What those people really need to do is get a new set of friends. And that's a harsh statement to make, but that's it. We are the average of our 5 closest friends financially. Most people don't realize that. And so you're going to grow out of some friends. Even mastermind groups that I was in, I grew, once I figured out what they had to offer and what the people had to offer, I grew out of mastermind groups. In fact, for a while, I just stopped going to them because I didn't like any of them. Finally, a few of them came out that I do like, and I've joined those that have a different mindset. But it is what it is.
The energy that you're just exuding into me.
Well, I want to help people. You know why? I want to help people. I want to help all these guys and girls that are watching. And most CEOs, they don't talk about this stuff. I don't even think that they know it. A lot of the corporate people, they just know it and they know how to do numbers. They learn how to speak a language that sounds like they're saying something but absolutely says nothing. People don't like that shit. Like, if a CEO were to actually go up there and really tell the truth, that guy would be well-liked, way more well-liked than what he thinks. And people know when you're talking bullshit. They just do. They know when they hear corporate doublespeak. And yet they go off and they do that. I hate it. I try to stay away from it. I just try to tell it like it is. I mean, you look at some of these, like Howard Stern. You know why? Because he asks the questions and does the things and is generally has a strong curiosity to find out things that no one else want to talk about. He talks about stuff, about personal stuff about people, because that's what people really want to know about. What makes this person tick? What's the inner workings of this person? How does their mind operate? He goes there, and he's really successful at that. And it's because he's willing to go places that other interviewers won't go. It's actually a simple formula, but most people don't have the gonads to go there.
The challenges that you're facing, the energy and the power and all this stuff reminds me of the fire that I felt when building RSD. Now, all these things are very difficult though.
Yeah.
And love requires a lot of luck. What percentage of the people out there do you think can become successful as a CEO or as an entrepreneur?
Look, if you're willing to put the time in, and like I will tell you, for years I worked over 100 hours a week. I was just sleep would be 6-7 hours, and I would be working until I got up, working or studying. Because I will tell you, there's books out there, and in those books have the answers. Why I like mastermind groups is then I don't have to read the book so much. I just go to somebody in my group and go, hey, bro, what the heck is this? Like, well, how do I handle this? And I do that a lot, and they have the answers. Somebody always has an answer in the mastermind group, or can at least put you down the right course and show you where to go.
That's how I learned best too.
Yeah.
I have not read as many books as Owen at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, different people have different ways of learning and assimilating information.
Well, I've spent a lot more time in mastermind groups of all levels, including knowing a lot of the people that have been involved with your mastermind groups from 25K and all the various groups there. But I guess, why are you involved with mastermind groups? What are you looking for to take yourself to the next level?
Look, as smart as I am, and I am because I've studied my ass off, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and I'm not afraid to say it. And so I go to mastermind groups because I'm looking for nuggets of gold, and I'm also looking for the type of people that have high integrity. A lot of these mastermind groups, when I started out, about half the people in them weren't high integrity folks, and that's one of the reasons I figured out their game and what was going on, and I left. And there's certain ones that are higher integrity mastermind groups, and they're really hard to get into. They don't take anyone. So you got to kind of start at the smaller groups, and you got to, through the food chain, work your way up so people get to know you and say, yeah, I want that guy in my mastermind group. The mastermind groups that I really like and that I go to now that have a lot of integrity with the really smart people are the Joe Polish's 25K group, Baby Bathwater by Mike Lovitch and the Hollis Carter, and also Summit Series, which is more of a networking group of people. And just recently I joined this year Karma, which is also a social networking group, and they're all extremely high level with business owners in there. And if I have any kind of a challenge or problem or anything, I can just make a phone call and go, hey bro, help me out here. What do you think I need to do here? Here's my situation. Have you ever been in this? And sure enough, they usually do, and they give you some really great advice. And it ends up being usually a shortcut to where I have to go, because time is extremely valuable. People don't realize how little of it we really have.
You're going to Summit Series now.
Yeah, I go to Summit Series as well, yeah.
Really? When was the last event you went to their event?
Well, the last one was Summit at Sea.
Really?
Was up there.
I didn't know you went to that.
Oh, yeah. I'm signed up this year again.
I've been to their Summit at Sea in the past too.
What I love about Summit at Sea, it's 2,500 people, and all of them have to be major influencers in their prospective space. And so it's just amazing who is on that ship. It's like the who's who of a lot of folks that you see on TV and you are familiar with or read their books.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge for most people, because that's things more exclusive than TED. You go to that event and it's like you have to be at the top of the top, and like, but really in a really unique business, contributing to the society and the world in a very unique way. And I think that's what's really cool.
And so my niche is cannabis, so that's why they chose me.
Yeah, it's definitely creative and unique, and it's been very cool.
And I'm one of the few that has done extremely well in that niche and built the size of the company that I have. Most people aren't anywhere near the size that where I'm at, or profitability for that matter as well. So both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's about, I guess, two aspects. One is getting people that are really successful in money and putting them together to innovate. And I think it's really cool. At the same time, contributing to society and the world, which is also yet really, really cool. And when you put those two things together, I think you get that higher purpose, and it's financially possible and sustainable.
They won't even let you on that ship unless you have a higher purpose in life. Unless you want to make change, unless you want to make a dent in the universe, you want to leave some kind of legacy for humanity before you leave, you won't even get on that ship. Yeah, you should. One of the things that I found that a lot of extremely wealthy people, including billionaires, talk about. People are like, "What do billionaires talk about?" You know what they talk a lot about? Their charities, where to give money, where they're not. The money's going to go to the cause and do the right thing. High percentage of the conversation is about helping other people. Now don't get me wrong, there's some asshole rich people out there that don't do that. But for the most part though, people, once they get to a certain level, they start giving back. I think every successful corporation has the obligation to give back directly to the community where they get their money, their niche, and then to society as a whole. Now look, if you are a small business guy and just starting out, okay, you don't have the money to do that. I get that. But as soon as you do, start a charity. I started a charity in Bulgaria called Holiday Heroes. I just did it because there's no charities. I had no idea when I started a charity, the doors that would open up, none. And by blind, dumb luck in this one, I started this charity, and the amount of doors that it has opened up is really, really amazing. Same thing with the political party. It's charity. I'm not looking to get anything. In fact, the political parties there that are all corrupt, they offered me all the cannabis business, growing business, the top two parties in Bulgaria. That's what they thought I wanted. Oh, he's starting a political party because he wants the cannabis business. No. I made a shit ton of money in the cannabis world. I don't need your money and your handout from your country to do that. Would I make a lot of money? Sure, but that's not why I started. I started because I want to get rid of you guys. And I told them both no. Like in 1 week, I had two major parties. One talked through a friend, and one guy was sitting in my fucking living room. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to join your party. I'm not interested in that. What I'm really interested in doing is getting rid of you guys and getting the right government in here. I told them that. They go, okay, and they walk out.
Oh, I love it. Sticking to your core beliefs and values.
And so there was no charities in Bulgaria at all of this type. And so they all told me, don't do it. You don't understand. It's Bulgaria. Now, there's a lesson there. People are going to try to talk you out of it. If you try to start a business and you try to do this, a lot of people that you know in your circles, knowingly or unknowingly, are going to sabotage you. let alone your own self-sabotaging shit, like the guy who wins the millions. Unless you're not mentally prepared to make a bunch of money, and thank God, I didn't make $65 million overnight. It took 16 years to get there. So I was able to go along with it. And there's times when I was growing weed, I made a shit ton of money. And you know what? When I first got it, I pissed it away. Oh, I did. This was fun. And then you realize just how fast money goes, and you start paying way more attention to it. But it's that same kind of mechanism working. You just have to.
You have to prepare to be rich. You got to
it comes in. You have to accept it, and then you have to realize what it is, and it is going to change your life. And it can do two things. It can either destroy you, or it can empower you. And you have to be able to make that decision. And that's going to be leaving some of your friends behind. And by that I mean they're still your friends, and you still say hi to them, and you still talk to them. But they're not your friends that you talk to every single day, or when you have a problem or a situation in your business. Most of my friends, old friends, I can't talk about business. If I had the talks that you and I had, first, they wouldn't understand it. They think I'm talking some kind of weird foreign language. And the other thing is, they're not really mentally prepared to understand what it is and how to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And there's formulas to it. And once you learn those formulas, it's a different world. But the biggest thing is you have to be good with success. And I've worked hard on that, because listen, when you grow up, you have people telling you, money is the root of all evil, he's a big fat cat, the Bible says something about putting a rich man through the eye of a needle will never go, and all this stuff. And so it programs our head to think negatively about money. No, money goes where it's used. Money likes velocity, and money likes speed. It doesn't care about race, religion, gender, education. It just goes where it's being used. And the faster that you're turning money over, and money has velocity. The more velocity you have with your money, the more you're going to make. And you have to just be good with your relationship with money. Listen, it took me a while to work that out as well. But I finally got a handle on it, and I'm good with it.
These are the kind of conversations I love. I just wonder, because you were saying, how many people would be able to understand what we were even talking about?
No, they won't unless they get there, or if they win the lottery, or they get a huge inheritance. Even my own kids I have a daughter right now, but I plan on having more. They'll get their money when they're 30, 35, and 40. They're 30 years old, they'll get a third. When they're 40, 35, they'll get another third, and when they're 40, they'll get another third. The first third, I know they're gonna piss it all away, and they're gonna see how fast it goes. And so the second time, I talked to a lot of lawyers on this who handle wealthy clients and how they set up, and so I'm setting mine up the same way. And then the second set of money that they get, they take care of it. And by the third set, they're ready to go and invest it correctly and do the right thing. So, but yeah, people have to. I will tell you, mindset and your relationship with money is probably the single biggest thing that you're going to have to adapt your mind to, by far. Look, you can learn all the marketing stuff and all the sales stuff and all the business stuff, but if your relationship with money is not correct, you will self-sabotage yourself, and you will not go to where your full potential is.
That's awesome.
It's strange but true.
Mike, this has been...
So what a man thinketh they become. So paint positive, good pictures in your brain, because your subconscious brain does not understand the difference between an imagined movie or a real event. And that's how you program your subconscious mind. I could talk a lot about programming your subconscious mind. That might be another interview. You might want to do it another time or whatever.
I'd love to do another interview with you, bro. This has been great.
Yeah, and I've got really good at programming my brain. And I will tell you, I allow my subconscious brain to do all the heavy lifting. My subconscious brain is what has got me to where I am today. Because what a man thinketh he becomes is actually painting movies in your subconscious brain as well. And your subconscious brain will take you there. You have to believe in it. You have to trust it. And the biggest thing is you have to move on the ideas your brain gives you. If you don't do that, your brain won't feed you as many ideas faster and faster. It's like a muscle. So the more you do what your subconscious brain, and how do you know when a subconscious idea is come to light? Is because you're sitting in the shower, you're playing the drums or some musical instrument, or you're going for a walk, or you're training in the gym. You should see I bring a yellow pad with me when I'm training, because when I'm doing the elliptical and running the cross trainer, pow, 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 pow. These ideas are coming, and I got to write them down before I forget them. So yeah, but you have to trust your subconscious mind, and you have to put the movies in there that you want, and keep the ones out that you don't want to see. That's a biggie right there, is to allow your subconscious mind to do the heavy lifting. And I have gone back and I've analyzed whole things that I've gotten involved in, and I go, there's only one way that this could have happened, because I start reflecting on it, and I start seeing how my brain connected the dots, and my subconscious brain has seen things 3, 4, 5 moves ahead where I've been, and put me on the right track. And that has happened over and over and over again. And every single person who has any type of just normal intelligence has that ability. This isn't some weird gift that God came. We were talking earlier, and we were sitting over there. A lot of people think that we're somehow, they think that we're special people, that we have superpowers and stuff like that, because they see some of us do some of what to them would seem incredible. Yet what they don't realize is just as easy for them to do it themselves. They just have to be able to put the time in and study and seek mentors out. And after a while, you'll know when you hear the good stuff and when you hear the bullshit. And believe me, there's a lot of people out there, so-called gurus, that are con men out there. You have to be really, 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 really careful. But after a while, you'll figure it out, and you'll be exactly where I am and where you are, and a lot of other folks.
This reminds me so much of the hope and idealism that I had when I first created this company. I was talking last week to Tucker Max about how...
Yeah, Tucker Max. He's in my 25K group.
Yeah,
cool
he's
guy.
a good guy. I've known him for when I even created RSD. I knew him back in that day.
Really, yeah.
But at the same time, when I was talking to him, I was telling him that I believe that most people couldn't become an entrepreneur. But just listening to you reminds me of the idealism of when I believed that anyone could accomplish anything if you do put in the work, you put in the mindset, and you do it. And I do believe, just from the inspiration of talking to you, that positive energy is just feeding back into me of these idealisms I used to have. Maybe they're still true. It's really cool.
Look, here's the thing though. You have to be willing to put in the time, and most people won't. Human beings will take the path of least resistance, and that isn't where the magic and learning happens. Here's one of the biggest things. When I feel uncomfortable in a situation, most people will shrink like a violet. I did too, and become a wallflower and just want to sit there and hide. No. What I've learned, that when I feel that discomfort, I now embrace it, because I realize where that discomfort is where growth happens. All growth happens on the other side of fear. It's our fear of failure, of what will our friends think about us, and what will my family think about, what will my kids think about me. I understand that. Can't let that get in the way. So when I feel uncomfortable, I embrace it and go, oh, you're gonna learn something good. And you only have to, a lot of people have studied this, they say about 4% of discomfort. You don't want to take a big step, because that's hard, but take a little step, 4% discomfort, you walk into that and you deal with it. And so for me, that has been a big step. So when I feel that discomfort, I put a smile on my face and go, oh, you're about to grow. That's where growth happens, in the area of discomfort. And most people don't want to go there, yet that's where you have to go. That's where all the good stuff lies. It's going to happen to you. It just is.
It's exciting.
It is. And your idealistic vision, yeah, absolutely. You can be anything you want, especially in this country. Now, there are some countries where the deck is so stacked against you, it's going to be next to impossible to be able to have a good life. And I say to you, if you're in that situation, get the hell out of where you are and get to a place and work where you can do what you can. I'm fortunate enough that my parents immigrated. You know, they were Latvian and Estonian, and they had to deal with the Russian occupation, and they went to Germany, then the American occupation, and they came to America. And it's just, it's just like they sacrifice a lot to move to America because they knew me, right? Well, actually, I wasn't even born yet, but they met and they wanted a better life for themselves and for whoever they were going to marry and for their children. And they got the F out. So I'm lucky from that standpoint. I was born in America. Do I have an advantage because I was born in America? Yes, I do. Because I've been over to those Eastern communist countries and I see how bad communists messed up their minds and their thinking. And it's really criminal to see that. So there are places in the world where you are going to be at a stronger disadvantage. But in this country, I don't care what you say about this country, how fucked up you think it is, this is still the greatest nation in the world to live in and be in and have a shot at the brass ring. And if you're living in this country and you're whining and you're bitching and you're saying all this stuff and, oh, I can't do this, you're never going to succeed. Because if you can't succeed in this country, you're just not going to do it anywhere. And that's fine. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people like working for other people. They don't want that responsibility. I had a friend who was going to go into business for himself. He went, he bought the van, he bought all the equipment, he bought all the stuff, he put the name on it. And he wouldn't go into business for himself because of the fear of failure. And unfortunately, when this happened, I was in my 20s. And it was what it was. My mind wasn't in the right spot. By the way, at the age of 19, I had already started studying a lot of self-growth things. I was getting my little tapes from Nightingale Conant and studying all these folks. So I'd read Think and Grow Rich, already several times, and it made a difference. I was lucky that I got my hands on some of that material early on. There was no internet. There wasn't this whole thing that you could go into and tap into and get all the answers that you're seeking. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the internet. People today have a huge advantage over folks they did, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when there was no internet. And earlier I said, we're in the greatest time of abundance and knowledge, and we are. And you can do anything you want. You just have to study. You just have to put your time in. There's no shortcuts. No shortcuts. I mean, like a big shortcut. You get these little shortcuts here and there, and they help, but there are no real, there's no easy button. It's going to be the toughest ride of your life that you've ever been on. The toughest ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you've been through it all.
Yeah. All right, thanks, bro. I got to head back to the Hollywood Hills for our house because
we're
moving out today.
We're moving out of the mansion, the old mansion, and into the new mansion, which is even bigger and more spectacular. I can't wait to show it off to everybody.
I'll be back here in just like a week or two. I'll check it out then.
Well, good. You're going to be for August 13th because that's the next mansion party.
It's during World Summit, though. RC World Summit.
Oh, that's right. You guys have the World Summit up there.
Yeah.
I swear, you guys should just grab a plane and fly in for the goddamn evening and fly right back. Oh yeah, you should.
What time's the party?
It'll probably start at 5, 6 o'clock and go like midnight, 1, something like that. I don't know, around midnight. It's the first party I want to freak the neighbors out too much.
All right, we'll see what I can do. Because it depends on what time we end Summit. Summit usually starts around 3, goes to about 10, and then we have everyone go out and party at night. So, I mean, if I came down here, I'd probably have like a half hour of partying.
Oh, yeah, but you have to go. Okay, you have to go out with the team. I get it. All right.
But, yeah, thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
This was excellent.
If you'd like to join an educational program that will give you massive insights in terms of business, relationships, networking, and more, if you'd like to learn from me, if you'd like to learn from my mastermind mentors, if you'd like to learn from the people that I interview and get a massive amount of value in my personal business life and personal life, join me on the rcfoundersclub.com. rcfoundersclub.com is a membership site where you will meet other people that are students other people that are mentors, other people that are part of my personal mastermind group, and we will talk with you in a phone app, a Facebook group, and a membership site where I've uploaded a very intensive video curriculum. Visit rsdfoundersclub.com and get full details on how we can enhance your life.